I know you've been up here already. Remind everyone who you are. That was Horizon. I think that was a great presentation, but background-wise.
Yes, co-founder at Horizon, 25 years in the industry, started in a decade in retail and then moved over to big corporate media, broadcast organizations, transforming into multi-vertical digital broadcast organizations, and then into ad tech with Pure Cars. But yeah, seen a lot of sides of this thing and just trying to bring platforms to the market that can help dealers and agencies accelerate.
Great. And
yep, I'm Ben Carsley. I'm the Vice President of Content and SEO at C-4 Analytics. So coming up on 12 years of automotive SEO experience specifically, which I think somehow makes me one of the least tenured panelists we've had so far, which I don't feel young. And when I started, the purpose of developing content for dealerships was to make sure you had one of those first 2 or 3 blue links and good scalable dealership content. What was in vogue was a 300-word blog post every week regurgitated from an OEM press release. And it's a little different today.
Yeah, and again, when I think about content, when I first think of it in an AI sense, I think about, of course, what you were talking about, SEO. How is AI going to replace what was traditionally considered? And then, of course, there's a whole other creative side. What can, AI be making? And of course, in some ways, that's the AI parlor game, as I call it, turn me into a squirrel and have me run around and buy a car or something like that. But let's start with the changes. I mean, is there some immediate, is it going to be a slow burn? Do the dealers need to be changing right now what they're doing, how it's being attacked?
Yeah, I think everyone at this conference has actually done a really good job putting it in context. We've been relatively devoid of AEO, GEO, snake oil upsells, which always is good to see. That's, in a lot of my conversations with dealers over the last 18 months or so, it's been educating them about, what AEO, answer engine optimization, GEO, there's 10,000 new acronyms, what those actually are. Is that SEO? Do I need to pay for that on top of it? And no, it's offshoots of SEO. It's the way SEO is evolving and is certainly evolving very quickly. I think one key point we've hit on a few times is, the overall percentage of traffic that dealers are getting from LLMs and ChatGPT and whatnot is still minimal. Obviously expected to grow. And, what we're figuring out and what Matt is figuring out is how do we help that grow as quickly as possible, not at the expense of traditional SEO and local SEO, but complementary to it.
Yeah, and again, not at the risk of, does it matter if we've got it figured out that we make the move, or do we have to keep our foot on both sides to make the transition?
I think dealers who have been doing traditional SEO right inherently have a leg up in LLM search and in AEO and GEO because a lot of the underpinnings are similar. There are technical nuances and differences, of course, but the foundation of a good core SEO strategy, which has been helpful content, unique content, anything that actually gets a dealer to differentiate from other dealers, is largely what is going to carry success through to LLM search as well.
Right, Matt. Let's add to that.
Yeah, I agree with that. We've been watching this space evolve for the last 2.5 years. Google's put this docile name to this series of algorithm updates, the helpful content update. But fundamentally, what we're seeing is the most radical change to search algorithms in our lifetimes. Meanwhile, they're quietly retraining every one of us and every one of our customers to interact with what we will know to become the evolution of search in new ways, right? So it's funny to me, coming from dynamic advertising in a former life where we didn't have SEO, and I always lamented the fact that we didn't have a lot of control over the quality of the content on the site. We used to talk a lot to dealers at Pure Cars about listen, get your SEO company focused on the 20 to 50 core keywords that you really need to win. And then, because they have limited bandwidth and they really need to just own those pillar keywords. And then allow dynamic search to solve for all the other permutations that a customer might do. Well, fundamentally, we're like at a place where that has flipped on its head, right? And we see this in practice. It's not just theoretical, right? And I'll speak for Stefan a little bit because he's not here, but fundamentally, this was a fairly high caliber Audi store that was spending 30 grand a month on paid search. A year later, right, he was saving $360,000 a year in paid search and had tripled ASC conversions from organic over what he was paying 30 grand a month in paid search for previously. So the efficiency opportunities are massive. Really what we're looking at now with AI powered content, and don't get me wrong, like I'm not a guy who's going to sit here and recommend that any dealer ever just goes to ChatGPT and says, build me a blog post and paste it onto the blog. You will, like the March core update, Google now penalizes that at the highest possible rate in the algorithm. So fundamentally, there is real tactile need for human plus AI collaboration and leveraging AI to accelerate throughput from a content perspective to effectively start to be the authoritative answer to all of these questions, fixed ops, variable ops, collision, F&I, that a customer has every single day, so that you can meet them at that moment of intent and logically guide them to the next conversion point after you've established trust. So it's a new world.
So again, if anybody sees John Fitzpatrick walk in, tell him we've got a seat for. Oh, there you are.
It's not 2:15 yet.
I know it isn't. But these guys were very
They got
anxious.
their foot on the gas. We had nothing to do with this, John.
I will take the blame. We're moving everything up a little bit. We just took the brakes away.
It's too nice out. Someone's trying to get 9 in around here.
Oh, that's great. Here, sit down.
Hey guys, how are you? Sorry.
Hey, John.
I guess I'm late.
see you, buddy.
No, we saved you a seat. It's all good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I don't know if you heard anything he was saying, but
Did not. I just walked in. Sorry.
okay, that's all right. But let me just finish the thought, and we'll get to. We're talking about SEO conversions. You can't not mention the Google algorithm, and again them penalizing if you just do a full ChatGPT content creation. But when does Google stop being the gatekeeper to all of this? When do we not say the Google algorithm, or is that just?
I mean, there's a lot of hype about AI engines right now. And if you look at ChatGPT's growth rate from a user adoption perspective, it's alarmingly steep. But fundamentally right now, ChatGPT has less queries than Bing. So it is still a rounding error in the overall human behavior. A lot of us start to think like when we use it every day, holy shit, everybody must be doing this. But the reality is it's still a rounding error in the overall search sort of share of voice. And what I can tell you is that Google is sitting on a mountain of cash and are not going to take this lying down.
No.
And that's why you see them consistently moving the goalposts aggressively with respect to how users interact and how measurement is done and everything else. So I think you're going to see Google still continue to be the 800-pound gorilla in this space.
Ben?
It's also not either or. A ChatGPT user is not inherently no longer a Google user. It's blended search, right? So as ChatGPT and LLM usage increases, Google usage has really not declined at all. It's just an additional area for us.
Yeah, let's interrupt this for a minute and let me apologize to you.
No worries.
Because what we decided to do is just move the last 3 panels up. We took out the break, so that's on us. But thanks for coming up, and let's make sure everybody knows who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, John Fitzpatrick. I run Force Marketing in our family of brands. WeDrive Automotive is in there. They do a lot of, really the focus originally with WeDrive was mail, email, and text marketing. We found that category of marketing had its own sort of needs, and a lot of agencies needed to partner with folks that had spent money in technology and really in the right data use cases and partnerships. And so we created that. And then in 2021, we acquired GSM from the Freakin Group, which was Gulf States Marketing, birthed out of Gulf States Toyota. And the whole design around that was that we needed to have one view of the customer if we wanted to have one voice and one conversation with the customer. And too often we have a conversation with the customer in variable ops to move new and used cars, and a completely different one with a completely separate set of vendors to have a fixed ops conversation. When the customer is just saying, hey, I'm one customer and I'd like to have one conversation with you. And so that acquisition was really important to us because we got to bring all of that life cycle retention knowledge into the business. And they had spent $35 million building a tech stack in and around retaining customers for Toyota. And when we think about Toyota, TLE, TLEE, what OEM really doesn't look to them as the North Star. So it was the perfect tech stack to acquire and bring into ours, which is called Audience IQ. And it really gives us a full view of the customer from variable to fixed. And then all of the data partners that we can bring in there to understand the market, understand the opportunities. And so we believe, just in this category of topic, we think because of the data that we sit on, both from the dealers, DMS and the CRM, the 1,400 dealers that we work with across the country, that, if you're thinking about AI as just sort of pattern recognition on top of data, then we are really well suited to bring AI into a tremendous amount of efficiencies. And how we think about AI inside of our walls is twofold. One, how can AI make our team, our client success team, more efficient? How can it bring to light more of what our client success team is doing, right? And you know this well, right? I don't know your background as well, but I certainly know his. In all the time we spend pulling all this data, trying to analyze it ourselves with people, can AI do that for us at speed so that we have speed to market by suggesting to our dealers, hey, here's exactly the units that need to be focused on, or in fixed ops, here's the area where we think we can grow fixed ops with inactive and lost clients. Here's a strategy. And then, oh, by the way, let the system completely automate the strategy. And so that's one fold. How can we be more efficient and have a faster speed to market in everything that we do, from content creative to strategy to deployment to media execution, and then all the way back through with attribution? How can we do that? And the other side is, how can we build on top of the solutions that we've already provided to allow for AI to lead the industry in some unique way, whether that be in paid search and a more efficient paid search, whether that certainly be in SEO. We know all of the opportunities in SEO, but also just in connectivity to the customer from a content perspective, right? The system will identify what creative, what offer, in what market, with which brand. And by the way, I talk about this all the time, in that every single dealership we operate with is a snowflake. They are absolutely different. And so to stamp out the same sort of OEM creative just because you're a GM brand and you're in Cincinnati, well, Cincinnati and Atlanta are two totally different markets, especially when you layer in the brand connectivity. And so we can't have one size fits all, but it's also very, very hard to scale customization, personalization. And so that's where AI, I think, has an opportunity to totally change our brand. I went probably longer than you wanted me to, but, and I apologize for being late, but that's how we're thinking about AI, those two categories.
Not your fault for being late, and thanks for being here. And there's so much to add to peel out. I'll give you guys a first chance at that. Anything you want to add to what he just added? So I saw you nodding as he was going along. So
yeah, so for us, we don't really have a horse in the agency race per se. We underpin a lot of agencies. But to John's point, right, there's tactile sort of gravity to an agency's ability to accelerate throughput to the dealer. And that has direct impact on customer experience. It has direct impact on the diversity of messages and sort of resonance with the customer. Having lived a life in a 2,000 client agency, it's tough, right? Historically been very tough to do all the things that made you magical when you were small, once you're big. As we've built this project over the last handful of years, coming out of that environment, I've always sort of really challenged the team to think about, how do we thread this needle that makes this simple enough and obvious enough for a dealer to take in-house and do themselves if they want, powerful enough and technically advanced enough for an agency to do really aggressive, defensible, customized strategy on a store-by-store basis. And then also flexible from a user perspective so that if the agency does want to collaborate with the dealership to hand in glove deliver these better, more impactful experiences to the customer, because that's the end goal. They can do that, right? Through shared seats and shared collaborative creative environments. Because often what we see, right? And like, I'll put it on fixed ops because like this is the glaring opportunity that's been a head scratcher for me in my last 25 years in the business is like, I'm sure any of us have gone and, searched for what part do I need to fit my car for some issue. And pretty instantly you end up on some obscure blog roll from like some 90s looking blog, some random dude talking about it might fit with some duct tape. And if you carve one flange off with a Leatherman, like, there's this huge delta and sea of confusion with respect to OEM parts, service intervals, maintenance recommendations, things of that nature. And dealers, by default, like every dealer is the de facto expert in their market. They have the expert people. And nobody knows it because they don't carry it through anywhere in their own content. They don't publish authoritative content about fixed operations, guides for customers to better understand how frequently to maintain their car based upon their driving schedules and how many miles they put. And it's in every dealer's defense, been really hard to do, right? Your fixed ops director knows everything about cars and maintaining them. They don't have time to write long form content or FAQs or anything else like that. And so for us, like we see this tremendous upside emerging for dealers to really start to carry through their expertise to the market and feed not only their customers with better, more helpful content experiences, but also the army of AI robots that is rising right now to do that research on behalf of searchers. So it's a very, very exciting time, and we see evidence time and time and time again, regardless of where a dealer starts. But to your point, if they have a good SEO fundamentals basis already in place, good technical site speed, things of that nature, acceleration that is frankly, like we knew this project would work when we started. We had a pretty good sense. We had no idea the level of acceleration that dealers would see as we've built this project out. So, boy, I'm just excited for the industry. I'm excited for the opportunity to give back to old agency friends, new dealer partners, and really sort of prime a platform for this industry to fly.
And, let me add, Matt, and all of you, again, when the internet rolled out and dealers were successful on it, they were really just getting business from other dealers. Obviously, the entire key didn't grow per se. And you're seeing the same thing as you're seeing the successes with the dealer in the project that you're rolling out now, or?
Time and again, our chief operating officer right now is going through a litany of case studies with dealers that have given us access to Google Search Console and GA4. And we'll be publishing averages across all dealerships. But again, like we're a tool, we're not a service. It's like performance is as good as the input.
Right. And going back to you, John, you made a great statement about, incorporating all of the fixed ops information. Were you in here for the fixed op panel just before us? Did you get a chance to see them?
No, multitasking.
No problem. I'll just fill you in on briefly. Again, it's all about how good is the data between the two, and that's sometimes the big gap is it's at one end and not at the other, or it's inconsistent between, or just incorrect. So, can you talk about that a little bit with
Yeah. So the data component of
Yeah.
fixed ops. Yeah. So first of all, we all know we're sitting on a tremendous amount of data, but how much of that data is clean and ready for ready for AI and or ready to have a conversation with a customer. Inside of our platform, we see as much as 30 to 35% of the data is just not usable. And so a cleansing process is a big part of, any modern day marketing.
And that's
effort.
pretty consistent. throughout
Constantly cleaning. I mean,
all
you
of
have
the
to.
panelists, yeah.
You have to be, right? And especially if you're ingesting both DMS and CRM data, then there are complexities there. But look, if AI truly is, just pattern recognition on top of large data sets, then the data set that you're on top of needs to be clean. And so that's where you're seeing that come from. And then what we're finding is that one of the things we did pretty early on is, and this was just advised to us, is just, hey, have a Google worksheet, right? Where everybody who's leading any sort of AI initiative in the organization has a prompt list. So in all the different sets that they might be asking the technology to do something, what prompt did you use? Because what we're finding is that sort of if I use one prompt, you use a different one, and you use a different one, none of us are really getting that much better because the system's just going to keep coming back to you and say, well, what did you really mean? And what's the further question, right? So instead, let's operate off the same set of prompts and then refine the prompts more and more and more. That advanced us. That alone, that one thing, advanced our systems quite considerably because we started asking the right questions for the tool to do a better job. And so we're seeing, just from a content perspective, we're seeing huge opportunity in asking the right prompts so that the content can be delivered the right way so that we can then analyze, is that something that's scalable? And if so, how do we continue to build product around it?
And carrying that theme, I've heard the term master prompt for a business, or in your case, for a snowflake, so to speak.
Yeah.
Is that a term that you're utilizing, or are you creating for the individual dealers? Or
we haven't used that term per se, master prompt.
it's almost like, again, it's almost, and maybe it's the list that you're having, but it's in front of everything, so you have a consistent form of communication. Again,
yeah, we're just recognizing like the trial and error that's happening in the world of AI is important. And so if we can start from the same basis point and then just refine it, like our big thing is refinement. How can we just get more refined in not only our own folks using AI, our own tools getting better utilizing AI, and then ultimately building solutions at scale for dealers that will allow speed to market. My big thing is we need to, for the 1,400 dealers we represent, they need to be able to utilize AI to have a better conversation with their customer and hopefully eliminate the wasted ad dollars. There's still far too many dealerships wasting ad dollars, and hopefully this next generation of technology should allow for a lot of those dollars to drop to the bottom line while at the same time improving the customer experience because we're having a more personalized one-to-one conversation with many.
Yeah.
That's what we're shooting for at the end of the day. And so what I try to do, as the leaders is say, let's not lose sight of what we're trying to accomplish here, because oftentimes you can get down a lot of rabbit holes, or at least that's what we found.
Yeah.
Ben?
I think the simplest way I could put it is, it's a little bit paradoxical, but the fact that AI allows us to scale so well is what gives dealers the opportunity to add more uniqueness and more personality into content, because we don't have to worry about
That's a good point.
the commonality anymore, right? The commonality can be done like that. And that gives all of us an opportunity to coach our dealers to get out there and give humans and search engines and LLMs a reason to cite or show you over everyone else who is offering more or less, what you are offering as well. And we're still in an industry in which a little bit of differentiation goes a long way. I think we're going to all see that continue to change. But I think that's the exciting part for me is, we can take what makes you different, the programs you offer, or the veteran, person that we can put an actual name to, because we know that LLMs love to, provide a human perspective. It's easier for us to work that in now and to sort of tie all these traditional SEO campaigns back into core branding as well.
Yeah. What's interesting is as you're talking, and I'm thinking about, again, and you mentioned Toyota, so I can't not think about franchises. I'm sorry, the OEM wanting to get involved in all of this. And, you're coming up with creatives and content, and you're treating them as snowflakes. And every now and then there's the message from on high to try and normalize or corporatize the message. Can we talk about how is that, and what made me think about it is when you were talking about how we can individualize it at the same time. So,
yeah. So I'll touch on something John said, which is valid first. We look at it a little differently, but yeah, like you're sitting on mountains of PII data and CDP data and other things like that. So yes, it is really important to have a clean house, whatever data that you're looking to leverage in content. But because we didn't start from that place, we don't touch PII at all. We set out to solve some challenges around like speed for setup. I want an agency to be able to spin up an account in 2 minutes and fully train it in a half an hour. But our system, rather than like having preset prompts, we have preset data infrastructure that then feeds custom code into prompts. Our prompts are roughly 2,500 lines of code right now. And that's if you're not like looping it through an API to you where you incorporate PII incentives, other things like that. So we think about that a little bit differently. And I think it's one of the reasons that OEMs have taken some interest in the conversation with us, because a needle that we've tried to thread is in such a heavily compliance governed environment. How do we take the considerations of the OEM, the considerations of a large group that may have some branding concerns around the entirety of their dealership group, but also empower each store to still carry through its own DNA and culture and community commitment and all of the things that the store wants to sort of carry through the customer to differentiate themselves from the other Starbucks logo on the next corner. And really thread that needle to be sort of respectful and mindful and compliance aligned with all of those interests. So yeah, we've actually been fairly well received. We've talked to 5 OEMs and the common response is like, oh, well, we should just bring our gallery in here and let dealers use it faster, let agencies use it better, faster, stronger. We're not waiting though. We will incorporate all OEM compliant images probably next week. We're just testing all of that right now. We sort of poked the bear with generative images for a long time. So we have really cool generative images as well. But again, it's just like, let's let content creators, whether they're at the dealership, the agency, or a little bit of both, leverage all this infrastructure, right? This helpful content infrastructure to accelerate speed to market, accelerate throughput, and solve copywriting in general, which has been such a massive drag on agency operations and their speed to market for a long time.
Yeah. So I'm looking at over your shoulder at the question: can it be used to effective content solution? I mean, you guys answered that in each of your intros. I mean, that was an easy one. Let's make sure we're covering the front end of that, which is again to answer the search or to get the internet person engaged with your dealership. Have we covered all the things we need to on that? Because you touched on generating images and things like that. I want to go to the other side of content, which is, again, some of the creative side. But I don't want to leave this behind. Did we cover everything we need to on SEO and making the transition to AI helpful content? And I mean, it's not set yet. I mean, it's not like we just can flip the switch or anything like that, as you guys said.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I touched on a little bit in the last session the other day, but we're just in a new world, right? Where I hear a lot of agencies, and I think Ben touched on it at the beginning, talking about like SEO and any of those acronyms I called out in our sizzle reel as like separate things. I don't think we need to oversaturate the industry with more acronyms. Like, frankly, this is just evolution of search, evolution of SEO. And, you know, as a nimble automotive industry, we will adapt, as we always have. And so really what's sort of refreshing to me as a former dealer and as an industry lifer, is that it sort of returns focus to the customer and just like sort of puts a target on how do we create better customer experiences? How do we deliver more sparks of joy to the customer, be the authoritative answer to the questions that they have every day, whether it's sales related, lease return related, customer lifecycle, maintenance, collision, whatever. And opportunities abound across that experience to just meet the customer wherever they're at.
Well, and I'm going to get to that point in terms of creating content around the customer. And let's talk about what AI can do, whether it's, you know, you can put them in the new car of their dreams, their image, or driving down a road in the car. And I know we were using artificial reality for a moment in time to show you that truck with all the racks and all the equipment on it. How far can we go? And I guess, you know, there is no end in sight, or is there, in terms of the dealer's role in creating imaging and creating content specifically for that customer?
There is no end in sight.
Yeah.
It will continue to accelerate as quantum chips start to execute AI operations. You will see insane speed. We will all, in 18 to 24 months, see things, question everything. Consider us in Black Mirror at this point. For us, as sort of an innovator and an explorer of this space, we are already testing things that drive us to fairly profound ethical considerations on a regular basis. And I continue to carry through to our team the mantra that just because we can does not mean we should.
Well, and again, that touches what Derek was up here a little while ago talking about, trying to get, you know, the industries, trying and understand where, you know, the ethics of AI, how far do we go and things like that. But it's a ridiculously exciting part. It's a rabbit hole. It's distracting. And we see it, you know, the images being created right now, trying to get, you know, and as it's always said, you know, this interweb, AI is just trying to get our attention. But how do you do it in a way that's again, respecting the customers or adding to their experience, either in the purchase, the servicing, the ownership of the vehicles that the dealers represent?
Yeah, I mean, we think about it in the context of like generating customer experience magic is one thing.
Yeah.
Oftentimes where we encounter a lot of these like high gravity ethical concerns are things like digital replicas, right? Often a dealer will get very excited about like, oh my God, this is amazing. Can you create digital me and, you know, build an avatar that can interact with customers or interview applicants or whatever else? And the answer is absolutely yes. However, there are real sort of PII implications and gravity around your release of control of your biometrics the moment you create that avatar.
Yeah.
Right? So if I think about it from a dealer leadership perspective, and we encountered this years ago when I was on the agency side, we had thought about doing deep fakes of all sorts of stuff to build agents to do what we couldn't get salespeople to consistently do, whatever. It brings up the fundamental question of identity rights. And I think every dealer needs to think about this with some gravity, right? It's one thing if a dealer principal wants a digital replica created to spin off a litany of different TV commercial style videos. That's their prerogative. But when it comes to an employee, if that employee is hit by a bus tomorrow and their family sees the ad or the digital interaction from their avatar running in a week, what are the legal risk implications of that? Right.
Okay.
So it's getting into, like I said, very Black Mirror area, and there will be a lot of buzz put in front of all of you over the next 24 months. And I deeply encourage everyone to step back and think pragmatically about risk implications of all of the things that you're going to see.
Yeah, and I want to bring it back away. I didn't, we can all, again, Black Mirror, great series, but still, I'm thinking it's just a happy-go-lucky way that, you've got a picture.
That's how it will be sold.
Well, of a customer's house, and you could have the vehicle of choice in 3 different colors and say, hey, doesn't that look great parked in this image here? That type of thing, getting creative just in personalization and not trying to, be nefarious or anything like that. And do you guys have those conversations going on now, John or Ben?
I'm still kind of ruminating on the just because we can doesn't mean that we should line that you dropped. The short answer is yes. All that's going to just become increasingly available. And I think there are lots of exciting use cases for it. And I think at the same time, everyone's individual line may vary, but I do think also a sense of artificial AI fatigue will not, that can hurt the consumer journey. If I just want to talk to a person and now it's a deep fake of the 7th different sales rep I've spoken to, right? It's very easy to take this too far as well. So don't mean to be a naysayer. There's lots of exciting examples. Can you visualize yourself in all of the 7 different vehicles that you were entertaining in your actual driveway, in every permutation, every trim? Sure. And there'll be many, many use cases like that, but start simpler.
Yeah. And I won't take a long time on this, but to your point, it may not be happening to that extent right now, but there is absolutely already fatigue with your customers with the vendors you have today. And this is one of the fundamental problems we see with AI automation right now, is that you have a voice AI that's answering your phones, and you might have another company that's got injected AI for text messaging, email campaigns, whatever else. The customer is drowning in a sea of nonsensical sequences, often from multiple different vendors already today. And I say this from a place of personal experience because my wife dragged me kicking and screaming through a car shopping process over the last 4.5 months, and it was eye-opening. So I encourage you to inspect everything that you are putting into your dealership and think about ways that you differentiate in a world where your customer is drowning in a sea of robot automations from you and all of your competitors.
John?
A couple things you said there. One, I totally agree that there are too many vendors operating inside of a dealership, right? So I was joking. I don't know if it was a joke or not, but at the Auto Tech conference in Denver, I just said, pick your ponies, right, that you're betting on, right? And then just allow them to collaborate, because when you're working with 18 different marketing partners, you're not managing your ad budget, you're managing your vendors that manage your ad budget. And there's 18 different strategies, and that just tends to not work. This concept of virtual reality and will we, have, goggles, yes, we're going to get there at some point. But it's like, to me, it's the same thing as digital retailing that was so big in our industry. If we're all going to be digital retailing, and we sit back here in 2025 heading into 2026, and how many cars are actually being digital retailed, right? There is this component. We in auto have to walk this very thin line of GM, I need to hear right now, I need to hit my month. That's the goal. We need to also be innovating for the future. And so where does innovation meet market fit is what we're always, right? Certainly some percentage of our time needs to be spent on what's going to happen in the future. But the large majority of our time needs to be on the market fit of what the dealers need right here, right now, to take the data they have right here, right now, the teams at their dealerships, the inventory on their dealerships, the market potential inside of their market, and win right now. And how can we create products that allow them to do that at a faster pace, at a less expensive place, than whoever it is they're competing with in that marketplace.
And help them
Right.
avoid risk.
While at the avoid risk, you're bringing up a big topic, right? I mean, this is the behind the why can't I have 18 marketing vendors? You have 18 hands in the data cookie jar. That's going to cause a problem. If we didn't learn from CDK, last year, 2 years ago, whenever that was, right? We are susceptible to that right now. If 18 different vendors are trying out something in AI, okay, then these systems are getting a tremendous amount of your data. Well, whose data is it now?
Yeah.
Right? And so we have to ask our question that we have to be just really monitoring, like, hold on a second. I know we want to advance AI and I know we want to be the fastest to it in whatever dealer group we're in. But who are the partners that are really rolling up their sleeves and helping us with that? Because if it's too many and too many widgets and too many one-offs, that presents a really serious problem in data security and privacy that will absolutely come back and get us.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting fascinated by reading stories in other categories where AI has just kind of taken it and run with it. And in some cases bought big, expensive things because it learned and we gave them permission to learn and we gave them permission to access all the apps inside of our phone. And we gave them permission to say, yeah, go ahead. Here's my data. Just make it faster. And by making it faster, we got ourselves in a problem. And I think about that with the second largest purchase that our customers are going to make, what we sell in auto.
Right.
That's a big problem here.
Well,
we need to be focused on right now, not like when it blows up, right now.
Oh, what? And by the way, when you said 18, there's already 24 now because there were 6.
24, it's a lot.
No, I'm just saying.
It's more than it should be.
There's just that many every 10 minutes. It's growing that quickly because it becomes something, and it's so exciting, and it does things that are distracting.
The dealers that challenge me on that, and I don't know what the number is. We all just know it's a lot.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't think I have that many. I'm like, all right, let's start here.
No.
Do you have a Cars.com rep, Auto Trader rep, True Car rep, Car Gurus rep, Edmund? Yep, I got all those. Okay, well, you got 5 right there.
Yeah.
And there is something to that, right? How can we streamline that in a way? And then again, I get back to the variable versus fixed. There's a variable conversation. There's a fixed conversation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, OEMs drive a lot of this, right? So it's like, let's get the OEMs in the room on this, right?
Yeah.
Because the OEMs are the ones handing out the free money, so to speak, through co-op that absolutely limits innovation for the most part. And I'm on a lot of these certified programs, so I know I'm in on that deal, right? But I have to be. Right? I remember sitting down with the folks at Berkshire Hathaway, one of our best clients, and I was like, I don't really want to go down this path of getting on these lists. And both Jeff and Hassan said, John, you have to. You have to. Because we can't partner with a vendor that's not connected to the OEM and the co-op dollars that flow.
Yeah.
And so let it be our option if we want to go on program or off, but you have to have that option for us if you want to play with the big boys. They were right. But the problem with those is then we look at, a lot of boxed out innovation strategies that tend to not change as fast as we would all like them to.
Right.
Right. And somebody's got to figure that out.
Well, and again, and my joke was more about that their AI is going to enable to be vendors to create companies that didn't exist 10 minutes ago.
There's no doubt.
And they're going to, again, it's a bright, shiny object that, again, we're out of time. Did we tell everyone what they need to do to go to and be successful with this?
We're all trying to figure this out. Let's not kid ourselves here. An AI conference is a bunch of people that are on the tip of the spear of trying to figure out how to utilize
exactly.
it. That's just where we're at. And if you're trying to say that you're more than that, I'm sorry, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Okay, I just don't. And so, right, there's just too much to be learned in this ever-growing category. And I love that we've got a room, right? I wish it were much, much bigger than this.
We're streaming it.
These are the leaders right here.
Yeah.
This is the leaders of thinking about how do we take this into the next generation and be ahead of the pack.
Yeah.
I think there's, and I think Ben will probably appreciate this tee up and he can finish, but I think, when we talk about low risk opportunities to accelerate, content is one that represents A, significant upside immediately, B, significant acceleration opportunities and early mover advantage that's very hard to catch for the trailing edge in 6 to 12 months. And third, the content that you create every day, you should think about as equity. Content will compound over time. It will drive you traffic for months and years if done right, and tremendously flip the table on the amount of earned opportunity that you're getting versus the amount that you're paying every month to compete.
Okay, close us out.
Finally, I think in a world in which the opportunities to create content in any shape or form via AI are literally limitless, and all of you will be inundated with countless offers and pitches to do it one way or another, the North Stars are just, will what I am creating help the consumer journey, and does it in any way differentiate me from everyone trying the same thing? And if you can stick to those two, I think the rest will work itself out.
All right. With that, thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for being here.
you.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. You're
Thanks,
the tip
Charlie.
of the spear. You're the tip of the spear. You're the tip of the spear. You are. No, you are. Please, thank you.